talking about the alphabet, consonants and vowels, like you said, numbers between prime versus composite, so where it's something where they have to think, where they have to kind of think of what are the outcome, what are my different outcomes. Okay, if we said, okay, we're going to use the numbers 11 through 20, what are the chances that if each of those numbers is drawn on a card and put in a hat and you draw one out, what's the probability of drawing out a prime number? Some of the kids have to think of the numbers 11 through 20 and say, okay, these are the prime numbers, these are the composite numbers. So I think, so yeah, that's what, so we've got a couple of worksheets we could use, or even just, and not necessarily the whole worksheet, but maybe bits and pieces off of them, cut and paste a little bit. And I could always hand if that was done correctly. Or we could just copy the one out of the book, because they have it in the book done correctly, and then they also have it there. But even just to have, just kind of just show kids or something like that. So they're missing the row of sixes. 1, 6, 2, 6, 3, 6, 4, 7. Are there problems on the assignment that should be skipped or optional? I would say, like, I would sense like that. Usually, like the upper level ones where you have, if you don't talk about overlap necessarily, like where it says what's the probability of drawing a club or a 5, and if students just said, well, there's 13 clubs and there's 4 5s, so it's 17 out of 52, that would be maybe more of an upper level one, but I don't think there should be any problems that should necessarily be skipped per se. So just that some may be a little higher level than others. Oh no. Complete the items on the assessment yourself. Time to get to work here. Review problems on the text. Determine which examples you should model and which you should use as guided practice. Work these problems in advance. Select the worksheet that best reflects the lesson. Not all problems need to be assigned. So put on there, we are working out solutions.
Here?
Yeah. We can, so I suppose we need to do that now, and then.
So do we need to decide what the assignment will be?
I suppose.
Do you want a book assignment, or if you want to use one of those worksheets?
Well, it could be, I guess it could be a combination of both.
What was the second one? Kind of like.
The survey was conducted of 32 boys.
Different than.
What's the probability that a student chosen at random plays the piano? So they have to look at the chart and say, okay,
Yeah.
there's 20 people that play the piano. Yeah.
That other one that just seemed like was all.
It was back to the same.
Yeah, just questions about.
Coins and dice, which we could already, and we could.
Just making sure that had the same stuff on decks, 2 decks of 12 cards.
Oops.
I got you stuck.
That's alright. This says, a small box contains 30 pieces of paper, 5 of which have a star drawn on them. If students choose a paper with a star, they will receive extra credit. So that's kind of like what we looked at for our intro. And then Jude chooses 1 piece of paper. What is the probability that Jude will earn extra credit, and what are the odds that Jude will not receive? So that kind of throws in their odds. Again, looking at how many, that he would not receive. And so that's kind of that also kind of goes into talking about the complement. So he's going to get extra credit 5 out of 30 times. He will not receive it 25 out of 30 times. Now, here's the next thing I guess we could talk about. When I have students answer problems with probability, I usually allow fraction, decimals, or percents. Is there any, do we need to stick with a You know, like, so like what I'm saying is, if a student says, what's the probability that Jude will earn extra credit? One person might say, well, they're gonna get extra credit 5 out of 30 times. Some students may write that as 1/6.
I think fractions are kind of better just because you get to compare.
Leave it as a, try to leave it in fractional form.
Decimals and
Because decimals, they go
percentages
0.16
kind of more way to
repeating.
communicate, I guess.
Yeah.
But when you're doing mathematics, I think fractions are always.
Yeah, I like fractions better, but if they watch the news, they
They get
would usually
percents.
use a
When you're
percent.
communicating,
Yeah.
like when you communicate probability, you're using
20%
percentages.
of the time.
But when you're working them out though,
Yeah.
Right.
you're using fractions.
So they